There was a moment, 3 years ago, when a man across a coffee shop table told me I was remarkably independent. I smiled, because I had been raised my whole life to hear that as a compliment. It took me the rest of that afternoon to understand he had been taking careful inventory of me the entire time. The independence, the paid-off house, the fact that I clearly knew how to run a home and a budget and a life. That man was not courting me. He was interviewing me for a position, and it came with a job description older than I am. Men our age do not want a wife anymore. They want a nurse and a purse, and once you learn to hear it, you cannot stop hearing it. Let me walk you through how I figured it out, because nobody handed me this lesson. I paid for it the expensive way, one disappointment at a time. It begins quietly, the way these things always do. A man my age will tell you how independent you are, how put together, how you do not need anyone in the world. The younger version of me would have glowed at that for a week. I spent most of my life being praised for how much weight I could carry. So, when a man calls you strong and capable and self-sufficient, the old wiring lights up and whispers that he truly sees you. What he has actually spotted is a woman who will not be a burden to him, and who might just carry him instead. The very same words can mean the opposite thing, depending entirely on who is doing the math. The next tell came faster than I expected. I was on a first date, the kind you agree to because a friend swears you are too young to give up on all of it. We had not finished the first cup of coffee before he had walked me through his knees, his back, his blood pressure, and the surgery he was probably facing within the year. I am not exaggerating for effect. A full health history, unprompted, before the waitress even came back around. At the time I told myself he was just nervous and oversharing. Now I know exactly what I was hearing. Every ailment was really a line on a job posting, and he was holding up the clipboard so that I could read it. He wanted someone to drive him to his appointments, sit in the waiting room, and memorize the names of all his medications. He was running a quiet little test, seeing whether the old arrangement still holds in women like us. What took me years to admit out loud is this: I would have taken that job once. I would have called it love and thanked him for the chance. I spent 31 years being the one who remembered the prescriptions and scheduled the dentist and held everyone's moods in my two hands, with nothing to show for it but the assumption that I would simply keep doing it forever. So when a man starts listing his ailments to a woman he met 20 minutes ago, he is checking whether your generation still comes pre-installed with the instinct to take care of him, whether he has earned it or not. But the doctor's appointments are only half the arrangement. That half is the nurse. You also have to watch for the purse, and the purse is where it stops being merely sad and starts looking like a robbery in slow motion. I had a man tell me, on a perfectly pleasant evening, that it would only be fair if I put his name on my house. To be fair to his children, he said, so that if anything ever happened to me, his kids would not be left out in the cold. I want you to sit with the sheer audacity of that for a second. This was a house I clawed back $1 at a time after a divorce that emptied me down to the studs. A house I paid off 2 years ago and consider the proudest thing I have ever done in my life. And a man I had known for a few months wanted his name carved into the deed so that strangers I had never met could one day inherit my walls. I wished his children well. Then I walked him out to his car, and I have never in my life slept better than I did that night. For a while I told myself that one was a fluke, a single bad apple in an otherwise decent barrel. The woman who cured me of that idea is the one I still think about, because her story is far worse than mine. She is sharp as a tack, 69 years old, and she met a man who was a good deal younger and very charming about it. Inside a single month, he asked her for $50,000. Not a loan he laid out carefully with terms, just a number, floated gently into the conversation to see whether it would stick to her. She is the one who taught me that the danger is real and you have to stay wide awake. The ask does not always arrive dressed up as romance. Sometimes it just walks straight in the front door. And there are women, And this is the part that genuinely breaks my heart, who got the entire package done to them before they ever saw it coming. I knew of a widow, comfortable and careful her whole life, who got talked into a late marriage by a man without a dime of his own. By the time she passed, everything she had ever owned had been quietly moved into his name, and the children she meant to leave it to inherited nothing at all. The whole marriage had been a long con, with a wedding ceremony planted right in the middle of it. When you get older, you become a target, and the people who target you are remarkably good at looking like pleasant company. By now, the shape of the thing is hard to miss. A compliment that was really an inspection, a health history that was really a help-wanted ad, a deed and a joint account, and $50,000 floated over dinner, all of it the same hand reaching for the same two things. So you understand what a great many of these men are truly shopping for at our stage of life. A partner to build a whole future with is not on the list. They already did that part decades ago. What they want now is someone to manage the decline and fund the comfort. A nurse for the failing body and a purse for the monthly bills. One woman in my circle put it more plainly than I ever could. She said older men just want somebody to drive them to their doctor's appointments and sit there and listen to their nonsense. I laughed when she said it because it was true, and because I had heard the exact pitch myself across that very coffee shop table. Now, if you are still sitting with me, let me say the thing the gentler videos will not. Most of these men are not villains twirling a mustache in the dark, and that realization took me the longest of all. He is simply running the only program he was ever issued. He was raised, the same as my whole generation, to believe that a woman is the soft place a man gets to land, the one who cooks and remembers and nurses and forgives him on a loop. He honestly cannot picture the back half of his own life without a woman quietly keeping it all going in the background for free. And the job he is offering me is the precise job I just spent 3 decades clawing my way out of, so I would rather be alone in a peaceful house than rehired into that role at any salary. I have already done the nursing, you see, and I did not do it by choice. Last year my former husband got sick. This is the man who left me at 58 for a woman barely older than our own children, who informed me I was no longer attractive on his way out the door. When the news of his illness made its way down the long chain of mutual acquaintances, a hint came floating back in my direction, that someone really ought to look in on him, that maybe, given all the history between us, that someone ought to be me. I said nothing at all. Then I waited to feel the guilt, the way I had been trained my whole life to feel it. Instead, something rose up in me that I had not felt in years. It was relief, plain and enormous. The clean, uncomplicated kind that fills a woman who finally owes a man absolutely nothing. Nursing him was no longer my job, and that one fact was worth more to me than any company he ever could have offered. If you have ever felt that same relief and then been ashamed of yourself for it, I want to be the one who tells you there is nothing wrong with you. You simply did the arithmetic that decades of unpaid labor taught you how to do, and the numbers came out honest. None of this was ever really about the warning, though, and the fear is the easy part. What matters more is everything you finally get to protect once you stop being available for hire. What I guard now is simple, and I would beg any woman my age to guard it with both of her hands. Keep your own bank account in your own name always. Keep your own home titled to you and to nobody else on this earth. Never, and I mean never as long as you live, put a man's name on a deed you bled for. Do not merge the finances after a few nice dinners. Do not let anyone move his boxes in on the strength of one good season together. That is all just me being awake at last. The women who get cleaned right out are usually the most generous ones, the women who were taught that real love means handing over the keys to everything. You can keep all of your warmth and still keep your keys. I promise you those two things have never once been in conflict. And I can already hear the voices that turn up every single time a woman says any of this out loud. The ones who tell me I am far too cynical, that I have let a couple of bad men slam my heart shut, that good love is still out there for the women brave enough to keep wanting it. I will grant them this much, because it is honestly true. Late love does happen for a lucky few. I know of a woman who remarried at 73 to a kind man with his own money and no interest whatsoever in hers, and the two of them had a good stack of years together before he passed. Love can arrive late and arrive real, with no agenda hiding underneath it. I am not going to stand here and swear to you that it is flat out impossible. It is simply a rare thing, the exception that proves how common the other arrangement has become. And here is what those hopeful voices never want to sit with. Knowing the good version exists somewhere does not make me want to go out fishing for it, and I will not audition 20 frogs and hand each one my house key for the slim chance that one of them turns out to be real. They can call that bravery if they like. To me it is just a bad bet with my own peace as the stake, and my peace came off the table for good a long time ago, because that is what every bit of this came down to from the very beginning. It was always only about peace. I have a quiet house that belongs to me and to me alone. I have a rescue dog asleep by my recliner who asks for nothing but a walk and hands back more loyalty than most of the marriages I have watched up close. My mornings are mine from the first cup of coffee to the last light of the day, with no one's moods to manage but my own. I spent an entire lifetime being the nurse and the purse for people who never once thought to ask whether I was tired. I am not about to sign up to be hired all over again at 64, no matter how sweetly the offer gets worded across a little cafe table. So this is what I know now, after paying full price for every word of it. That inventory you saw flicker in his eyes was real. You did not imagine a single bit of it. Seeing it clearly turned you into a woman who finally reads the fine print before she ever signs her name, and you spent far too many years calling that gift a flaw in yourself. The fact that the offer no longer tempts you is the surest sign that you woke up. There is a whole world of difference between bitter and awake, and you are standing on the right side of it now, clear-eyed at your own kitchen table. You are not broken, and you never were. You are simply paying attention now in a way you never could before. And you are nowhere near as alone as they keep insisting you are. There are thousands of us, sitting in our own paid-off quiet at this very hour, women who heard the job description for exactly what it was and calmly shut the door on it. You belong to a very large, very settled crowd of women who finally chose themselves. So tell me down in the comments, because I read them and I learned from every one of you. When you look back now at the last man who came circling around, which one was he truly shopping for? The nurse or the purse? Say it in a single line, and say it like a woman who already knows exactly what she is worth.